let's go to work. As barbers, we cut hair and fade all day. This podcast goes beyond the barber's chair and is about the rest of our story, positioning ourselves for success, avoiding costly mistakes, and continuing to grow and thrive as barbers for years to come. Join us as we look at the whole world of barbering and go beyond the barber's chair. I'm really hoping that every barber hears this episode, because every one of us either has or will encounter a customer, either child or adult, who is on the autism spectrum and or heightened sensory disorders. Kate Owens Hines, my guest, is the visionary CEO and founder of the Sensory Safe Solution. It boasts a wealth of experience behind the chair for 25 years as a salon owner for 14 years, and with 5 years dedicated to researching sensory safe services and refining the associated processes. And she brings a deeply personal touch as a parent to a son with autism. In a short span of just over a year, Kate has led her organization to successfully certify over 3,400 providers across 43 states and 7 countries, establishing the Sensory Safe Solution as a beacon of transformation or transformative support for the barbering and cosmetology industries. Now, this subject can be difficult to talk about, and it will remain difficult until we as barbers normalize talking about it. As an example, you'll hear me in this podcast, you can hear me stumble all over the topic. I usually edit out stutters, stammers, the sounds, filler words, and that sort of thing. Yet on this episode, I left it all in there. I've got the raw audio in there to show how uncomfortable a subject it can be, or at least for now. The more we can talk about the spectrum, the better we can learn to identify when we have a client on the spectrum, and how we can better accommodate them, and how we can help them feel more comfortable and just create a better experience for everyone altogether here. So, Kate goes into this a whole lot better than I ever could even possibly try to explain it here. So I'm going to go straight to the interview. Well, Kate, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it, though, because I know you've got a million things going on. I have seen you at a couple of events, and it's not, okay, I'm going to go meet someone and hang out for a little bit. You're all over the place and always working, so I appreciate that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah.
And happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Actually, after we finish recording this, I'll be heading over to the metropolis of Covington, Georgia, to go visit with my dad for a while. So that'll be good.
Oh, I love that, Dave. You still have your dad.
It's fantastic.
That's
Absolute
beautiful.
blessing.
You're
Absolute blessing. And I don't know if you actually appreciate it as much as you do, as you move along further in life. Once you realize, I didn't know everything, and he wasn't a complete idiot. Hey,
Yeah,
it is fantastic.
absolutely.
I get to see him really often. He's like 45 minutes away, so it's not bad at all.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Such a blessing.
it totally is. So we've got a very complex topic. There's hours and hours and hours of information on this, and we got all 45 minutes or an hour to really kind of go through it here. So I'm just kind of dive into it. We there Until I had actually met you and talked to you and learned more about what it is you're doing over there with Sensory Safe. Um, I always had it just from the barber's perspective. A child walks in, a mother walks in with a kid, and they have the ones who are going to give you the problem. They have the same look. It's like, yeah, and this for any child, any young child. They have that look. Yeah, they're walking into a barber shop, and you can tell mom's uncomfortable. The child probably is, or he might not be uncomfortable yet. Because going to a barber shop is not a day-to-day thing. They don't do this all the time. This isn't their thing. And what they don't realize, or they do realize too well, is they're about to be put into a chair they're not used to, lifted up into the air, maybe having to sit on a cushion or a bench lying across arms. Someone's going to be holding a sharp object, which they're told to be careful around, or they're going to have a vibrating object upside their head, and they're supposed to sit still, be quiet, and just let it be for the next however long it takes. It is not a normal world for your regular for it's not your normal world for any child.
Correct.
We add to this the the spectrum, the sensitivity, the things that are happening in these children's minds, which don't happen in everybody else's minds, and everyone has different sensitivities. So we add all that, and it becomes even more exponential. In the barber's mind, I don't know very many barbers yet who look at it and identify it as such yet. What I'm noticing is a lot of barbers, and with great intention, almost everybody I know who cuts hair is just a fantastic person. Uh, Here's a child. Oh, how do I deal with this? They're doing this. How do I deal with that? And then all the other things that start going through their mind. Oh, this is going to take a lot longer. What about my other customers that's going to push back this? Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, what's mom looking at? And short of freaking out, they get through the haircut through a variety of methods. But it's something which I think barbers just don't really learn a whole lot about yet.
Correct.
And then the child's mind. Okay, what do you've dealt with a lot of kids. What do you see is going through their minds?
So I've dealt with a lot of kids, first off, because I raised five boys, but I
Bless you.
learned, thanks, I learned how to cut hair in a barber shop. So I think that makes me a little different than than another stylist, right? I learned how different it is to be in a barber shop. And in the kids' minds, you know, what I have experienced is they walk in and it's fear. They're scared. And it could be because of a variety of things. They could be scared because you're a stranger. They could be scared because of sensory processing disorder. And what's going on in the barbershop is too much an attack on the senses. They could be scared because of their last haircut. And if they were held down, held by the mom, held by other barbers, held down by dad, that could be affecting the haircut that they're walking in for. So I think it's fear more than anything, fear and sensory overload.
There's a lot of stuff going on in a barbershop. A
Absolutely.
lot. Between who knows how many people are there. You got buzzing going all over the place. You see hair on the floor as opposed to being on someone's head. Um, yeah. Heaven forbid you're in somebody's getting a shave, gets a nick. Now you see the aesthetic powders or band-aids come out. There's a lot of things going on. You got TVs and everything. And you
Music,
I'm sorry?
music, eight conversations, a blow dryer, all kinds of noises, sounds, sights, and smells.
Right.
And I don't know if you know this, but sensory overload has been described. It can physically hurt somebody. Like they feel physical pain from an overload of the senses.
Really?
Yes,
That is
physical.
complete.
I know, physical discomfort from overwhelming sights, sounds, smells, taste, all the senses can cause physical pain and discomfort.
Wow. And we add that to the mix of it all.
Yeah,
You mentioned something about the parents holding really tightly. I call that the vice grip. Uh, I I'm known, when I deal with a child, I'll ask the parent, all right, who's the boss of the haircut? Is it the child or you? That sort of thing. Who's the boss?
that's a
Uh,
great question.
oh, it's fantastic. It draws a line really quick. I'll tell you that.
It certainly does.
Uh, and I've had parents in the past who would offer to hold their child while cutting.
Hmm.
And Yeah, I'm always at a 50-50 on that. It's like, are they holding the child there because the child's really comfortable, or are they gonna start doing this, just doing the vice grip and holding him tighter and tighter and tighter?
Yeah,
And I'll even have the conversation that says, look, if it comes to that, if we start doing that, I will stop the haircut. It just that I don't want this to be a traumatic experience. I don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather send the child out with half a haircut and come back
right.
another day than to, force the child to go through something really traumatic, you know?
Right. And why don't we, it's not just the parents, Dave, holding kids. Nina, she's our board member and one of our educators, but Nina talks about her old boss, uh, and she called it the death grip. And he would hold the kid's head really, really tight, and he had long fingernails. So, and she said it hurt these kids holding the head like that. So that's the barber holding, the child's head. And then if I've heard from Dom, one of our board members, Dominic Muniz, he worked at a place, his first shop he worked at, the guy, the owner would yell reinforcements. And if you weren't with a guest, you were to come out and help hold a kid down.
Oh,
So
wow.
each had a leg, each had an arm. So it's not just the parents,
Right.
it's our industry too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm guilty of it. Early on in careers, especially, uh, child's moving his head around here like that. I'll little death grip with the fingers, yank and just pull the hair up. Oh, okay. It's just, I'm guilty. And it's like, there's things we just don't know. And then you learn
And
other ways.
and when I was got into the barber shop, I'm still not 100% confident behind the chair. I don't, honestly, let's be real here. I'm working at a barber shop. I don't know what I'm doing. It's predominantly male. There's, 20 guys in there, and I'm 20 something, and a dad looks up at me and says, "Cut him." What am I gonna say? No.
Right.
So
Right.
I just did. And I distinctly remember I worked with my auntie. She's a barber. She's the reason I got into this industry. But I remember her saying to me, "That little guy looked like he was fighting for his life."
Hmm. And they are.
Yes. Yeah,
They
because
are.
they think we're gonna hurt him.
Yeah. And they think we're going to hurt them because it's happened. They've seen it happen. What are they told? Hey, don't play with the scissors. Be careful of the scissors. Oh, don't.
Yeah.
Hey, think about just how much caution we give kids with scissors. And
Don't talk
now,
to strangers.
yeah, don't talk to strangers. And now a stranger is holding an ear, and we got a scissor.
Uh-huh.
Hello.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there is a. I've been trying to connect with Rob. I, I think it's the booster imagination.
Rob from Imagination Booster. He's a great
Yes.
guy. We collaborate with him. He's one of our collaborative brands. His cape that he has is so great.
Yes.
Booster is so great. Everything he's done for the industry is so great.
Absolutely. It actually helps to kind of prepare the child for it and prepare the parents for it as well. Because I
Yep.
mean, you got to think, from the parents' state of mind. They're going into this and they know what's about to happen, or they've already thought about what's going to happen, and now they're going in nerves as well.
So I just want to touch on that, Dave. Parents for children on the spectrum, and I'm just going to speak from personal experience.
Hmm.
I go into every single situation, every single one, even today, like that, because I never know what it's going to look like.
Right.
And neither does Waylon. Like we don't, I can't tell. And I love it. He always makes me a liar. So I'm thinking, oh, he's not going to be able to do this. He does. And then something else that I think, oh, he's got it, will cause a meltdown. So
Yep.
parents of the spectrum go into everything like that. Never mind something is triggering as a haircut.
I was going through your website and watched a couple of your videos there. I honestly had never thought about it from the parent's perspective to the point of everywhere you are with a child who's on the spectrum, you're worried about whether or not you're going to be asked to leave, thrown out, other people watching you. And
Yeah.
it made me think of I've been doing a lot of flying lately, and you hear the child, and immediately what goes through your mind? Somebody,
Oh,
everyone's like, somebody shut the kid up or whatever. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
yeah.
And there's a lot of folks who just learn how to chill out with that kind of stuff. But to your point, the parent walks in, and this is a constant thing.
So, Dave, I'd love to tell you where I've been thrown out of, if that's okay.
By all means, yeah, hit it. This is a safe
Um,
place and a candid place.
oh, I love that it's safe.
Oh,
We've been asked to leave a doctor's office. We've been kicked out of a doctor's office
oh my God.
for a doctor's appointment for Waylon. Um, we've had to leave so many family gatherings. We've been kicked out of restaurants, theme parks. Um, my staff came to me. This was in the beginning. I don't think they knew I would be on stages eventually talking about it. But my staff came to me and said, "We don't think that your son should come to the shop because it's so disruptive." And, we've been kicked out, left out, and I posted about it at the airport. This was just maybe a year ago. Um, a guy that was working at the airport came up to me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "We're fine. We're having a hard time." And he sent the police over. And it was so good because I could tell that the police had training because when they walked up to me, they said, "Are you okay?" I said, I looked over real quick and just said, "He has autism." And they dropped their eyes and immediately exited our space. And they didn't come close either. So that told me that they did have some sensitivity training because them coming over could trigger even more further a meltdown. But yeah, we get still kicked out and isolated and it's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy at all.
Yeah, I see parents come through the shop. Uh, One child who I've seen a lot come through, I haven't interacted with them because they have a favorite barber.
Hmm.
And I love that. A child and a barber gets that connection. And it happens with people, period. But when you have that barber and that child, they work really well together. Love that. But he comes in, he is on, full on automated wheelchair. I mean, he's got the paralytic. I'm not sure what the actual diagnoses are, but I can tell he doesn't have full control of his body and or his mind or his vocals. But they have this connection between the two of them, and it works. And there's a whole sensitivity to it. They get it.
Yeah.
I remember a place where I used to work. This is a couple years ago. Philip, nice kid. He was in his teens, like maybe mid-teens, something like that.
Okay.
And you could hear him a mile away. He had a very loud, projected voice, and his entire conversation all the time would be repeating about how they have cows that make milk, and that the milk makes chocolate, and they make chocolate milk.
It's his fixated interest.
Yeah, yeah, he's completely fixated on it.
Yeah.
And I know that I had cut his hair a couple of times, and eventually he got to the point where he would talk about other things, and the other thing he would talk about would be the family trip to the Hershey factory in Pennsylvania.
Which is connected to his fixated interest,
Exactly.
chocolate. And, Dave, that's okay. Because,
Mhm.
we do it, and I talk about this sometimes in training. We do this with guests anyway. Do you like to talk about all the things that your certain guests talk
Nope.
about? Do you talk about them anyway?
Yep.
Okay. Same for individuals with autism. I'd be fine talking about chocolate milk because I love chocolate milk. It's all I drank when I was any of my pregnancies. They make fun of me at the shop. I used to drink a gallon of chocolate milk a day.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're my people.
Yes, cho- chocolate milk is the best. Um, but who are we to not talk about chocolate milk the whole time? We talk about all the things our guests want to talk about anyway.
Hmm.
And I know because we go back in the break room and someone says, I heard you talk about cats that whole time. You're allergic. And you're like, yeah, shut up. Whatever. That's all they wanted to talk about. But we do it anyway. Why is it different for someone with autism? You know?
Exactly. It's an extension of the conversation.
Absolutely.
And you know something, Kate, one of the things I realized, after the fact, well after the fact, and I think a lot of it has to do when I was doing my own prep, is like, you know what? That was fun, probably a fun trip for him. Probably a
Without
really,
doubt.
yeah, it's probably a great memory for him. And he is so on that. I mean, it's like, how awesome is that?
It is. It is. And, for me, and the girls and guys talk about it during training. Um, Waylon fixates on me. He wants to know where I am, what I'm doing. What are you doing, mom? Who are you talking to? He is really fixated on me. And, but if you can talk to someone about what they want to talk about, there's nothing wrong with that. You might think it's different, but I will tell you, the mom that's sitting there watching is so thrilled that you would talk about chocolate milk for 30 minutes and how amazing that her individual is talking because there's many people that don't have a voice.
Mhm.
So you might not us barbers and stylists might not realize the miracles that we're working with.
What could we do more for the parent to help the parent feel more at ease? Already interacting with a child is huge.
Hmm.
And it's something where if you don't have a child who's on the spectrum, uh, I think it's really hard to really relate to it.
Yeah.
If you have a child who is, it's a very simple thing to relate to. So for a barber who has a child in the chair or just showing up, what can
Hmm.
we do for the parent?
Well, I'm going to tell you there's so much. First of all, learn about autism. Um, you know, get give us 2 hours, give the sensory safe solution 2 hours to become educated about autism spectrum disorder, sensory processing, and how triggering our spaces are for those individuals. And follow the systems for success that we provide. Because if you find out ahead of time that that individual is triggered by the sound of the blow dryer, and that's what's going to make or break the service, how easy is that? Just not to put on, or like the little psh, air machine. If that's the trigger and you know that ahead of time, it's a no-brainer. It's almost like the prep ahead of time saves you from a tough experience for you, for them, and for anybody watching.
Right. Now, I know that in the shop where I'm at, uh, the only indication that I don't know what someone's all about is I see a name I don't recognize.
Yeah,
And I finish someone, okay, cool. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Frank, I'll be with you here. I'm going to clean up real quick, be right with you. And
yeah,
that's my first time to see Frank.
yeah,
And Frank might be a child.
yeah.
And so now here I am right there, child with a mother or with a dad.
Yeah,
Okay. And it's almost like I have to ascertain real fast, like in a second or so. It's like, okay,
yeah,
here's what we're looking at. Boom.
yeah. And I hope that the training that we provided for you, Dave, will allow you visual triggers to show you that you might need to make accommodations.
Hmm.
And, you know, we we designed this curriculum around what barbers and stylists need to identify ahead of the game. So if you can identify those things, even if the child is not on the spectrum, then you can do better.
Hmm.
If there's fear, what are you going to do, Dave, to make that guest more comfortable? And it might take you 10 extra minutes. And you might have to say, Mom, uh, and I'm talking worst case scenario.
Right.
This individual has never had their hair cut. And I'm saying never had their hair cut because the parents have been cutting them in their sleep. And maybe they don't have the best hair care at home. So it's matted, and that individual is, pardon my French, scared shitless to come near you.
Yeah.
So is it, Mom? Here's the questionnaire. I have them printed out. I know I have you on for 1:30. Will you fill this out for me? Text it back. Let me see what I can do to make this more comfortable for all of us. And then you do as such. And I was thinking about this morning, Dave. I know that doesn't fit the barbershop world. I know. I worked in it for 5 years. Next, 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 next. Let me clean my station. Auntie, will you sweep for me? Like, next. And flipping, to where my clippers were so hot. I was like, oh, I have to use my other ones. You know, um, back then when they were corded. But we're in right now uncharted waters. Things are different. Would you agree that things are different?
Oh yeah. And it's going to continue changing.
So if this diagnosis rate keeps increasing the way it has, the prediction is, astronomical.
It
If
was
the
even higher
world,
the other night when we were talking about it because when we were discussing this because you had mentioned one set of numbers in the class and it was even different then.
yes.
That's just a few months.
So if the world is changing, maybe our industry needs to a little bit too.
What are the stats you're seeing?
So when Waylon was born, he's going to be 12 this year. It was 1 out of 155. When we wrote the curriculum 10 years later, in 2023, it was 1 in 36. This year, 2025, it's 1 in 31, with a prediction in the next upcoming years to 1 in 11. And 2035, the prediction is 1 out of 2.
Wow.
So if our world is changing that much, we need to make some slight pivots behind the chair to accommodate. And if Disney World can make accommodations, we can too. We can too. There's accommodate, you're going to see it more and more and more and more. All these stadiums, huge stadiums where they have concerts and sporting events, they make accommodations. We can too. We can too. The question is going to be, do we want to? And I want to. I want to make our industry safe and welcoming and kind because these these individuals, why do they have to look as different as they already feel? I've seen what a haircut does for someone and they're feeling themselves. That's the best.
Mhm.
Ooh, when you watch that happen for someone that's never gotten to experience that, you know, we've seen it where a 5-year-old that had gotten held down for a bunch of haircuts gets a good haircut, has a bunch of fun, has a good experience, and then gets in the mirror and says, "Look how good I look. I'm so proud."
Mhm.
And, and don't get me going, Dave, because I'm on a
Harry.
sick, I'm on a sick one. It's like, when you're building your book. You're building your book and you're going out and you're giving out cards and you're giving referrals and you're saying, send your mother, send your brother, send your friend, send this one. You're on the street corner, you're spinning a sign, you're at every event, you're, giving back to the community. And I tell this to my stylists and barbers that build themselves up. You only have to do that once, right? You only have to invest that into your career once. Because once you get going and then you're fully booked, you're like, please don't post about me. Jeez, don't tell anybody about me. I can't take another new guest. And, but only one time you have to do that. It's the same with a guest with autism. Once you build that trust, that's only once that you have to do that.
Mhm.
Like you have to put in that little bit of extra work on the front side, but that's only once. You do the same thing for your career. And, you know, it's almost like a different looking consultation. Regular consultation. Hey, welcome. How'd you hear about me? That's how I do. How'd you hear about us? What, tell me about what you want to do today. I go through all the questions. This is a consultation with maybe that someone that doesn't have any words. And we provide you with the systems and tools to do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk your ear off.
No, 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 no. Hey, see that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
How many times does someone get the opportunity to say, "Hey, guys, here's what we're doing"? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, so many times people are in such a big hurry. It's like, give me the 10-second version. Guys, get out because there's a lot of things that don't fit into the 10-second soundbite.
It's the truth.
And just like the 30-minute haircut, there's a lot of haircuts that don't fit into that 30-minute haircut. And to your point, once you understand that's where it is, and there's that connection, you already know what you got to do. Now it's simpler to make the adjustment that needs to take place. It's kind of like that questionnaire you have.
Yeah.
It goes through the questions so that someone who can see that, they're able to look and say, okay, I'm not going to be able to see this person at 1:30. How can I adjust for this person? And
Accommodate.
yes,
Accommodate.
yes, yes. How can I do that? And or is there a better match?
Yeah.
Is there someone like there's a girl who I worked with. This is about 4 years ago. Her
Hmm.
name was Tori. And
Hmm.
Tori was she was half deaf. Like one of her ears almost didn't work at all. If you brought a child in, it was amazing. Children who no one else could cut. They would not tolerate them. The child would not tolerate the cutter. The cutter wouldn't tolerate the child or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They got in her chair. It was magic, Kate.
Yeah.
It was absolute magic. She
Yeah.
took the time to relate. And,
Yeah.
and also to her credit, she was one fast cutter too. She could take 10 minutes to talk with someone, and 3 minutes later, here you go, done.
That's how I cut.
It's like, wow. Yeah,
That's how I
I'm not
cut.
that fast. But it's amazing. But you find ways to accommodate.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I had someone who wasn't working with me, if it wasn't working, I knew, hey, we need to find some way to put this person in Tori's chair
Yeah.
and let her work her magic. And I see no shame in that because but the owner of the where I went to school, he used to say this all the time, and I didn't realize how true it was. The right people will find the right barber. So the person who's going to connect with you the best, they're going to end up in your chair eventually. They might be in 10 or 12 different chairs. Who's to say who that person is? It
Yeah.
might be the child. It might be Philip who talks about chocolate milk, who only let 3 people cut their hair, won't let anybody else touch them.
Yeah.
And the parents know that.
Yeah.
So learning to accommodate, learning to use all your resources, I think is a very important thing to do.
Absolutely. And I asked my team when we first started this, like, what's your superpower? What makes kids like you the best, or what do you lean into? And I like to be bad with kids.
Hmm.
Really like to be bad. Like if we can make a mess, if we can be squirting people in the face with our spray bottles, if we can be rowdy, if we could be doing all the things that typically your parents would say no to,
Hmm.
they love it.
Yes.
And I'll give you whatever, I'll give you money, I'll give you lolly, I don't care. It is like, yeah, it's whatever it takes.
Right. For me, it leans on boogers and fart jokes. It's great.
That's another thing kids love is, getting on their level. Why do you want to, I don't know. Why do you want to talk about stocks when you can make really, you guys can have fun, making jokes about bodily functions, all kinds of fun things.
Oh, it's great. And when you connect with a child, when you really genuinely connect with a child, I mean, it is super happy. It is just amazing. Freaking love it.
I do too. I'll ask them if they want a cigarette. Do you smoke? And they're shocked by me. When I ask these things, they love it. I ask, "Oh, how old are you? 27?" They're like, "I'm 8." I was like, "Oh my gosh, me too."
Oh, there you go.
But
Yeah,
really, I am.
I think my favorite one is to see the parents' reactions when I pull these things out of my pocket. Or hey, you married? You got kids? And just see the and these were the jokes I hated. My mom took me to her beauty salon where she would go get her haircut, and this guy would use the same corny stuff on me. I hated it back then too. You know? But they love it. They eat it up. It's like, hey,
Love it. I love it. That's funny.
oh my gosh. So what did some of the solutions look like? Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about. I mean, sometimes it's another cutter. Sometimes, hey, we're gonna take a little bit longer. That questionnaire. Maybe we need to reschedule this. I know some stylists who actually go to the person's house
Yep.
and hang out with them, even if there's no haircut. Just kind of hang out and let them get used to it. What are some of the solutions? Like, here we are. They're in my chair. What do some of these look like?
Well, obviously identifying if you're going to need to make accommodations, that's first and foremost.
Hmm.
Then, obviously the questionnaire that you referred to, um, we provide a before, during, and after for parents so they know what to expect. And I don't know, Dave, if you've experienced a parent that has hijacked your service. And I have, where they're breathing my air and leaning over my shoulder and like, back up, ma'am. I won't, that's what I'm saying inside. I don't say that
Right.
out loud. But I've watched a mom, wreck a service where we were doing fine. And she comes in and, is he Is he scared? He looks like he's scared. Is he scared? And then he's like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to be scared? And then it's over. And I don't know what you've experienced with kids, but my kids are better for everybody else. They're terrible for me. They act a fool, and then they go with other people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, your kids are so good and so polite." And sometimes, we have to, and that before, during, and after that we provide tells parents, this is the expectation if you want to work with me. If you want me to work with your individual, here are the rules. And them knowing those is huge. And I talked about making sure that we put the time in the beginning to make sure that we're accommodating appropriately and have the environment set for that individual. And then another huge piece is, what are we, what's that individual working for? What is, what do we have for them to make this service worth sitting through. What it, you know, so we're asking them to tolerate it. And like I said, sometimes with sensory processing disorder, it brings physical discomfort or pain. So what do I have to make them willing to sit through it? You know, for me, I'll work for filler, Botox, Louis Vuitton, and vacations. That's what I work for. Dave, what do you work for?
Quite honestly, I was just having a good time.
Okay?
Let's enjoy it.
You work for fun.
Yeah,
You'd be easy then for me to get you to sit in my chair.
yeah, exactly.
We'd have a lot of fun. So, is it for Waylon? When he didn't have a voice, I wanted to put him, I wanted to send him to school with a shirt that said, "Will work for food." Like if you have a Skittle, he'll he'll do what you need him to do. So is it Skittles? Is it Goldfish? Is it the phone? Is it iPad? My son Bobby, who's also a barber now, he has a guest, and that guest will sit through maybe 3 to 5 minutes of cutting to have the opportunity to sit in the waiting room with my son and talk about the cars that go by. So they'll cut for 5 minutes, then they'll sit in the waiting room and talk about the cars going by. Then
Mhm.
they'll go back, cut for 5 minutes, then so it's not always something tangible. Like you said, you're fun. So we would cut for X amount of time and then we'd have some fun or be having fun while I'm cutting. But we need to target what is going to be reinforcing enough for that guest to want to sit. And then another huge piece of, the solution is the schedule. So individuals with autism have restrictive and repetitive patterns of behavior. And the more we know about what our day looks like, the less anxiety there is if we know what's next. So if individuals on the spectrum feel most comfortable with a schedule, then we need to be on it.
Mhm.
And if we invest that time in the front side, then we must make sure that guest is rescheduling their appointment every 4 to 6 weeks. And if we wait 8 months, we're starting over again.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and I love a good distract pack. I don't know if you've seen what those look like. Ho, 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 amazing. They'll distract an adult, they'll distract a kid, neurodivergent or not, but it's all the most sought after sensory toys
Hmm.
or fidgets. And I'll open up that distract pack even when I'm teaching and I'll watch. Like I just saw it when I was at Nashville BarberCon. I opened up the distract pack and I was like, oh, this thing's my favorite. And I watched a girl's face. She was like, and I was like, oh, that's the one. You love that? And she was like, yeah. I go, do you want to hold it? She was like, yes. So there's something in that box that will fill a need.
Well, absolutely. I remember when I saw the one. When I saw the pack, it's like, oh wow, there's a ton of things there, and it didn't hit me till after it passed by, and it's like, oh, that's what they're doing. I completely had missed the point until afterwards. Like, wait a minute, people were actually having things which could be their whatever their release, their way to get back focused or play from it and then go back to focus. Really interesting. I haven't even seen that ever until it went right by me. Oh wow. Da 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 da. So we're talking about how barbers can accommodate, and we've covered that quite a bit. I mean, it's fantastic. Um, Talk to me about sensory safe solutions. Yeah, I've done the course. Fantastic. I think it's definitely very helpful. But people who are seeing this for the first time talk to me about it. What is it you do? I'm just gonna let you know this better than I do. I'm just gonna sit back and shut up and let you go at it.
So we are the only curriculum worldwide educating barbers and stylists how to accommodate those on the autism spectrum, sensory processing disorder, and related disabilities. We don't have anything in our textbooks. Well, I'm sorry, I take that back. In the barbering and cosmetology curriculum, there's one sentence that says you may have a guest that has disabilities you will have to accommodate. Dave, does that say enough for what you're going to need to go out there into the world?
Not at all. And that's the case for the whole textbook, really.
Well, they teach us how to pass the state board, right?
Right.
And if we do that, mission accomplished.
Exactly.
So there was a need, and I saw it, and I only saw it because I became part of the autism community. I was thrust into the autism community. And when I found out that my industry and the new community that I was part of weren't cool and didn't chill, that wasn't okay with me. So we're a nonprofit. We teach in person and virtually. And once you're certified, we will send you all the templates for success via email. We'll send you a virtual certification, a web badge for your social media, and a decal. And you'll also, the most important thing I think that we provide besides the education is that we list you on our website and for families to be able to find a safe space. And I love that, as barbers and stylists, we're so ego driven sometimes that, these barbers will say to me, "Oh, I cut all these kids on the spectrum." Yeah, I think that's great. Do you know how many families live right around the corner from your barber shop and are afraid to come in to see you because they don't know it's a safe space and they can't take another loss. They can't take another L. So they're not bringing their individual to you because they're scared and they're ashamed and they're embarrassed. So I think it's great that barbers are taking care of these families. But whatever families you're taking care of, there's about times 10 right in your hometown, right in your community that don't know that you're a safe space.
Can I
And
speak
we,
to that for a second?
yeah, please.
Because you brings up a very important point: marketing. Just the flat out marketing aspect of it. Uh,
Yeah.
I know there's a wide range of people. Some people are better with some things, some people are better than others. Someone who is really good at accommodating someone who's on the spectrum, who's really good at it, but just needs to get the word out, being able to be on a direction like that is huge. Now I do hair donations once a month, and I'm on the Wigs for Kids website. I've had, and it's created so many people reaching out to me. I had to create a freaking chat bot to have them link to that. And here's all the information you need. Here's the rules. Da, da, da. Here's how you schedule, as opposed to trying to handle it on my own through text messages. To the point, Kate, where people are actually bypassing all that and slipping into my chair.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my intention, but it happens. So the fact that you provide that service to be able to say, hey, look, here's someone who is really good. They have this heart for accommodating. They have a heart for kids. They have a heart for people, and they cut hair. The fact you've got that, it's got a lot of impact, which a lot of barbers don't understand or don't even know the impact of. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on too, Dave, autism isn't just kids. And we've added in to our curriculum how to accommodate the high functioning adult. And we're we need to know about that piece too.
Hmm.
We really do. Because it's not just kids. There, there's over, I think it's 5 billion people in the world that have sensory processing disorder, we must understand what this will look like in our chair. And we must know how to accommodate and to understand it and, understand autism because it's a new world.
It is. It is. And in a lot of the circles where I hang or talk with, I see it everywhere. And it's not some hidden thing that it's not so much like, okay, we're going to hide in the corner anymore. We're seeing it. It's out there in our face. But like you said, children and adults.
Yeah.
I remember there's a guy named Bryson. Now I met Bryson. This is, gosh, about 3 years ago. And he was, I want to say 40s, in his 40s. One of the nicest guys you can meet. He worked at the Publix behind the shop where I was working at the time. And he came in and he was so sensitive. His sensitivity was right there on the scalp.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it took me an hour to cut his hair from the yelps and screams and having to be really slow guy because he was really, really, really sensitive. And
Hmm.
I saw him about 3 times. He'd come in every few months.
Hmm.
When I left that shop, he's actually one of the guys in the back of my mind. It's like, I wonder who's going to go see him now because I mean, he's right there. And ironically, I saw him about 8 months ago in the Midtown location of where I'm cutting at. And he comes, his hair, Kate, his hair was absolutely perfect,
I love that.
absolutely perfect. And he's coming in. I had never seen him look like that. I almost didn't recognize him. He recognized me as he found his barber.
Mhm.
He found the barber that could work with him. And I don't even know how he found him, but he found him. He found that connection. It's just so great to see that. So I didn't want to go on a complete tangent there, but wow. But yes, it is in adults too. It's not just kids.
So I have a story that I think back on. I had a guest and she was very different. She was just very different. And her husband would have to hold her hand while she got a haircut. And they told me that she would have to take a Valium to come in to the shop. And I'm ashamed to say this. Never once, Dave, did I think to say, what can I do to make you more comfortable? Like, was it coming in was it because the shop was busy? Was it, who knows what it was, but I never asked because I wasn't trained that way. I was trained, hi, welcome, this is my chair, come sit down. And the guest accommodates to the way we work. There has to be a shift in that because I can't imagine how much more comfortable I would have made that woman. And was it anxiety? Because we talk about that. Was it anxiety? Was it post-traumatic stress? Was it whatever? Whatever. Even our dementia and Alzheimer's clients, all these accommodations work for all these scenarios. So it's please, anybody that's watching this, it isn't just about kids. It's about making people comfortable in our spaces and us accommodating rather than the other way around.
I think that kind of encapsulates the entire message and entire purpose of what you're doing, Kate.
Good.
Yeah. And Kate, but before we to wrap up here, I want to just kind of take a moment and just acknowledge you real quick here. Um, I had, like you said, yours is the only curriculum that even deals with sensitivity. I have I've taken numerous classes. I've been to several shows. I've become a Barber nerd, and your channel is the only place I've seen this really addressed. You might see people say how to deal with kids, but it's really how to deal with people at the end of the day. Some of us need to be treated differently than others and accommodated differently. It's just the way it works out. Uh, the I know what it's like having to raise a child. I can't imagine five. I can't imagine the challenges that you've had to put up with, that you've dealt with other people, just having to deal with anyone on the spectrum at all. I really just can't even imagine how tough that is. And yet you pushed through it and you took it and you've turned it into a purpose. And you don't take it as a victim mentality. You say, hey, look, here's where it is. It's real. Yeah, I'm dealing with it too. Let's go after this. And that's just fantastic. And every time I see you at the shows or anytime I run into you anywhere, you're always on point about the message. And I absolutely love that. That's just fantastic. So,
Thank you.
um, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to put out there or talk about or discuss?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's significant that today's Father's Day,
Hmm.
and the only reason Sensory Safe Solution is anything is because of my dad. And he would not allow me to be a victim. He wouldn't allow me to feel bad about Waylon's diagnosis. And I talk about in some other podcasts, I've mentioned what he said to me when I called him with the diagnosis. I was crying so hard, I was drooling. And I said, Dad, he has autism. They said he's disabled for the rest of his life. And he said, I want you to stop crying so you can hear me. Can you hear me? I want you to wipe your tears. Listen to me. And I thought, wow, this is the time that my hockey coach dad, is so sweet to me. And that was not the case. He said, I want you to find the nearest hospital and I want you to find the sickest kid there. And I want you to see if that mom will trade you for autism. And I said, Dad, you're a jerk. And he said, I'm not done. Then I want you to go to the cemetery and see if you can find a mom there and see if she'll trade with you. And at that time, I could not accept that. But on my worst days with Waylon, and those days were bad, I hung on to that and I still wouldn't trade. And the Sensory Safe Solution is a nonprofit. And I have to share with you, it's been powered and fueled with what my dad left me when he passed. And I chose to take his legacy, what he worked so hard for, and put it towards the world to make it a better place and never have what I went through with Waylon and what I've experienced with Waylon to be wasted. I'm going to use that to make first our industry a safer and better place, and then we'll move on to other industries. So I don't think there's a coincidence that it's Father's Day and that I get to honor that
I would,
because of him, Sensory Safe Solution is a thing.
I would totally agree with that. Totally, totally agree with that. Well, thank you for everything you're doing. If someone wants to get involved, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, there's all the ways, Dave. You can find us on Instagram, The Sensory Safe Solution. You can find us on Facebook, Sensory Safe Solution. You can email us, and they're all of our emails and phone numbers are on our website, sensorysafesalon.org, and just reach out. You can get Sensory Safe certified. You can become an educator for us. We have our next two regional trainer planned. We are going to be in Philly the end of July doing a regional training event. And then Our next one after that is mid-August, and that's going to be in Compton. I'm so excited. And you could be an educator for us if this message is something that's important to you too.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you for everything you're doing. I mean, and also thank you for taking some time, especially on Father's Day here. Thank you for everything you're doing. This is fantastic. It's something which is, I don't be dramatic, say long overdue, but we need to know about this as barbers. We need to know about this as people, and just want to say thank you very much for doing that. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's an honor, and it's been, I know for sure that this is what I was supposed to do. I feel like I'm living my dreams, and it feels so amazing to be received the way I've been, um, with my community. And even people like Dave, even you having me on here. So thank you for that. It it really means a lot to me.
So hopefully it turns into something even bigger and better for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Beyond the Barber's Chair. I put links for my guests and for anything we discussed in the description. I hope you got something great and that it helps you as a barber and in life. If you like the podcast, I hope that you will tell a friend about it and subscribe so that you don't miss any upcoming shows. I'll see you next time as we go beyond the Barber's Chair.